Welcome to Jehovah News, your trusted source for Christian faith updates. Brought to you by Jehovah's House of Saints. Stay tuned for the latest news and insights to inspire and uplift your spiritual journey. Stay connected with us as we bring you all the breaking Christian news, presented by the dedicated team at Jehovah's House of Saints. Thank you for tuning in to Jehovah News.
Have you ever questioned if you have the strength to stand up in the face of adversity? This was the question a preacher posed to his congregation in a time of darkness and turmoil when their faith and courage were being tested. He wondered if those who considered themselves men of God would have the mettle to defend their faith, their people, their nation. He knew that some may falter, their faith waver, but he also held a firm belief that the true shepherds among them would rise to the occasion, guiding their flock, embodying the wisdom and valor of biblical figures like King David. The Bible recounts the story of David, a man after God's own heart, a leader who, with unflinching courage, stood up for his people, a shepherd boy who faced the giant Goliath, armed with nothing but a sling and his unwavering faith in the Lord. His trust in God's plan gave him the strength to face his enemies, to bring honor to his nation. It's this same faith, this same courage that the preacher sought to instill in his congregation. He reminded them of the words of Jesus in Matthew 10:28. Do not fear those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Rather, fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell. It was a call to faith, a call to courage, a reminder that their faith should not be rooted in fear of earthly consequences, but in trust in the Almighty. In the face of adversity, it can be easy to dismiss those who display unconventional courage. Some might have called David mad or misguided, but God often chooses the unlikely to accomplish great things. He saw in David not a madman, but a wise and faithful servant, a shepherd destined to lead his people. Like David, we too are called to be shepherds, leading our flock with courage and conviction. The preacher's words echoed in the hearts of his congregation. A call to courage, a call to faith, a call to be the shepherds their communities need, a call to stand up in the face of adversity, just like King David. What does it mean to have unwavering faith, you may ask? The answer lies within the compelling story of King David, a figure of immense courage and faith, as depicted in the Bible. David, a humble shepherd boy, was chosen by God to become a great king. Despite being small in stature and young in age, David was not deterred by the colossal Goliath, a warrior who had terrorized the Israelites. David's faith in God was so profound, so unwavering, that he faced Goliath armed with just a sling and 5 smooth stones. This is the very essence of unwavering faith, a complete and utter trust in God's plan, even when the odds seem insurmountable. David's faith was not rooted in his own abilities, but in the power and wisdom of God. He declared to Goliath, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." And so, with a single stone from his sling, David felled the mighty Goliath. This miraculous victory was a testament to David's faith. He trusted in God's plan, and God delivered him from his enemy. David's unwavering faith continued to be a guiding force throughout his life. Even when faced with trials and tribulations, David remained steadfast in his trust in God. He penned the 23rd Psalm, a beautiful expression of his faith, stating, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." David's faith was not a fleeting sentiment, but a deep-rooted conviction that guided his every action. It gave him the strength to lead his people with wisdom and courage, to stand tall in the face of adversity, and to trust in the Lord's plan, no matter what. In the face of great adversity, David trusted in the Lord, demonstrating a faith that we should all aspire to. His life serves as a powerful reminder that with unwavering faith in God, we too can overcome our Goliaths and step into the destiny that God has planned for us. Fear not those who can harm the body but cannot touch the soul. These words, spoken by Jesus in Matthew 10:28, serve as an important reminder of where our true faith should be rooted. It's easy to fear the tangible, the physical dangers that we can see and feel. But the teachings of Jesus remind us that our faith should not be governed by these earthly fears, but rather by our trust in God, our divine shepherd. Imagine a shepherd guiding his flock through a valley. The path is treacherous, fraught with wolves and the threat of a storm. The sheep instinctively might fear the wolves, the storm, the uncertainty of the path ahead. But the shepherd, with his staff and his knowledge of the valley, does not fear these things. His trust is not in the absence of danger, but in his ability to guide his flock through it. In life, we are all both the shepherd and the sheep. We fear the wolves, the storms, the uncertainty of the path ahead. But as followers of Christ, as believers in God, we are called to be more like the shepherd, to trust not in the absence of danger, but in our ability to navigate it with God's guidance. This is not to say that fear is absent in the lives of the righteous. Fear is a natural human response to danger and uncertainty. But true faith, as Jesus teaches us, is not about the absence of fear. It's about trusting in God in spite of it. It's about understanding that our earthly fears are temporary, but God's love and guidance are eternal. This brings us to the powerful promise found in Romans 8:31. If God is for us, who can be against us? As shepherds, we must remind ourselves of this promise. When we face our wolves, our storms, our uncertainties, we must remember that we are not alone. We have a divine shepherd guiding us, and with him on our side, no earthly adversary can stand in our way. So let us fear not those who can harm the body but cannot touch the soul. For with God's guidance we can overcome any obstacle, just as David did with Goliath. As shepherds, we must remind ourselves of this promise. If God is for us, who can be against us? God often chooses the most unlikely people to accomplish great things. This was certainly the case with King David, a shepherd boy who would rise to become one of the greatest leaders in biblical history. To the untrained eye, David might have seemed an unlikely choice. Yet the Lord saw something more, a courageous heart, a wise mind, and a faithful servant. In David, God saw a shepherd, not of sheep, but of people. David was someone who could guide, protect, and lead his flock with wisdom and courage. He was a leader who, despite his humble beginnings, was destined to ascend to the throne and guide his people with the same care and diligence he once reserved for his sheep. But David was not just a king. He was also a poet, a musician, a warrior. He penned many of the Psalms that we still recite today, words that inspire us, comfort us, and remind us of God's unwavering love and support. It's in these Psalms that we see the depth of David's faith, his absolute trust in the Lord, and his commitment to carrying out God's will. Take Psalm 23, for example. Here David writes, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul." These words, written by a shepherd-turned-king, echo the deep trust and reliance on God that define David's life and leadership. David's life is a testament to the fact that God often sees potential where others see madness. He chooses the unlikely, the overlooked, the underestimated to accomplish his divine plans. Like David, we too can be shepherds, guiding and leading with wisdom, courage, and faith. So as we reflect on the life of King David, let us remember that each one of us has the potential to be an unlikely shepherd. Let us embrace our own unique callings, knowing that with God's guidance, we too can accomplish great things. God often sees potential where others see madness. Like David, we too can accomplish great things. As we leave here today, let's reflect on our role as shepherds. Each of us has a role to play in our communities, a role that extends beyond our daily tasks and responsibilities. We are not merely residents, employees, or family members. We are shepherds, entrusted with the well-being of those around us, just as King David was entrusted with the well-being of his nation. In our modern world, it's easy to lose sight of this responsibility. We can become so wrapped up in our individual lives that we forget about the larger community. But remember, a shepherd's duty is to care for the flock, to guide them along the right path, and to protect them from harm. But how do we emulate the shepherd? How do we follow in the footsteps of King David? The answer lies in faith, unwavering, steadfast faith in God. This is the faith that guided David in his battle against Goliath, the faith that led him to become one of the greatest kings in history. Faith, however, is not a passive attribute. It is not simply a belief that we hold in our hearts. It is an active commitment, a promise to trust in God's plan, even when the path seems uncertain. This is the faith that we must cultivate within ourselves if we are to become true shepherds. As we reflect on our faith, let's also consider the strength that comes from unwavering trust in God. It was this trust that gave David the courage to face Goliath, to stand up against his enemies, and to lead his people with wisdom and conviction. This same trust can give us the strength to face our own challenges, to stand up for our communities, and to guide our flock with courage and compassion. May we face our own Goliaths with the same courage and faith as King David. For if God is with us, no adversity can stand in our way. As we leave here today, let's carry this message in our hearts. Let's embrace our role as shepherds. And let's strive to lead with courage, faith, and unwavering trust in God.